Before we begin, if you need a word-for-word transcript, one will be provided down in the information box or on our Canvas discussion board. Anyway, thank you for choosing my presentation to listen to, and I hope you enjoy. How much time do you spend a day on internet media? Do you find that the things you're seeing online are no longer bringing you joy? In this past week alone, as I'm recording, my screen time has gone up 14% since last week, with the majority of that time being spent on social media. In 2022, it's become common in our society to see younger generations be able to operate an iPhone or an iPad without parental guidance, and have much more experience with trending social media platforms such as TikTok and YouTube. Because of internet media, it has opened up a lot more opportunities and careers that don't require the basics, like a high school or college degree. Young adults are able to financially support themselves simply by posting about their everyday lives without having to work a 9-to-5 job that many of us are aiming for. In my presentation, I'll be mainly discussing the consequences of internet media on health, more specifically towards young adults and younger generations, as they are the ones who are at the most risk. The content I'll be covering is why is this issue happening, who is being impacted, are there any environmental impacts of the issue, and what can we do about it? One of the reasons why we're seeing this issue happen is because of our current global state. Our world has been experiencing a digital surge, especially because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Rather than being able to connect physically or face-to-face, people are turning towards the internet and technology. In 2021, among adults in the US, it was concluded that 90% felt that since the pandemic, they have been heavily relying on the internet, so much to the point where it's become an essential for them. A lot of us have probably experienced spending more time online, especially since we've adjusted to online or distance learning, like this class. 41% claim that through the pandemic, they were able to use digital tech or the internet in new and different ways, in comparison with the beginning of the outbreak. For example, Discord groups have become common to allow students to interact as they may not have the chance to outside of class or lectures. However, of course, moving online had some cons too. Of the adults surveyed, 40% have stated that they often or sometimes felt worn or fatigued from spending time on video calls or attending lectures through Zoom, which can also be labeled as Zoom fatigue. With the constant looking at screens, whether it's for lectures or assignments, this situation has caused an estimate of 33% of US adults to want to cut back on the amount of time they're spending just looking at a screen. Although everyone has a different experience with internet media, younger adults and generations are more likely to be impacted due to the risk it brings regarding health. For example, the rise of dating apps, such as Bumble or Tinder. These apps have allowed for matches to have conversations before getting to physically see one another and pursue a relationship. However, we all understand how easy it is to hide one's true identity, and have probably heard of terms such as catfishing. At Texas Tech University in 2017, there was an incident where, in order to keep an eye on his athletes, their head football coach, Cliff Kingsbury, went undercover as a girl on social media and created several accounts to talk to his team. Online scams and interactions such as these can cause harm on an individual's mental and emotional health by making it difficult to pursue future relationships due to trust. They could doubt a person's true intention or personality and eventually lead to depression or anxiety. Among children and youth, social media can also encourage health problems, specifically physical issues. For example, social media can encourage lack of appetite due to the constant desire of wanting to be online, which would then eventually lead to internet addiction. Because of this, it could cause poor eating patterns, resulting in becoming overweight or eating disorders. From the lack of consistent nutrients, it could also cause children to affect or stunt their growth. A common issue that comes from the impact of media on children is the lack of social skills, which is becoming an issue especially in the classroom. Rather than learning how to communicate with others, they are spending more time looking at screens for entertainment. With children and toddlers, more time on devices can lead to their social development to suffer in terms in building relationships or interactions with other kids. It also causes problems with listening or complying with directions and wanting to help others. By having an increased amount of screen time, it can also increase their risk of disruptive behavior, such as bullying or being bossy. For older teens, the more time they spend on their screens, the amount of time off screen decreases, leading to a lack of relationships with others, such as peers or adults. This has led to higher rates of loneliness and depression. It can also affect quality time spent with family, increasing the chances of conflict between parent and child. One of the ways that we try to be environmentally friendly is by switching to screen rather than use paper. For example, although I'm an English major, I try to limit the amount of books, especially new ones, I buy for classes, and try to get PDFs online. I have also been taking notes on my laptop or tablet rather than use a notebook in order to reduce the amount of paper I use. In our classes, we often find ourselves, when having to find resources, rely on the internet because we believe it's more sustainable than going to the library and look through actual paper resources. However, we don't really consider how much of an impact on our carbon footprint that using the internet has. So not only are we causing problems for our human health, but we are also impacting the environment in negative ways. For Google, it can emit up to 10 grams of carbon depending on the complexity of the search. Now imagine the amount of carbon you may have already emitted during research for this assignment. Social media-wise, everyone uses a mix, but for an estimate, 28 minutes of scrolling can emit 42 grams of carbon for one social media platform. Just like calculating carbon footprint, there are also wipes to collect our carbon emissions through internet usage, such as EcoTree. In our growing global community, social media is able to play an important role in giving people a voice in regard to our current issues happening around the world. For example, there's a current trend in the comment sections of TikTok where users are spreading news about worldwide protests being staged by scientists. They are claiming that in their recent research, our planet could become completely unlivable due to our current environment in a few years. Therefore, they are pushing for changes in regulation regarding greenhouse gas emissions. By utilizing social media, it allows for the right people to get to our issues and find solutions. Social media in our global world allows for communities without power to gain a voice. However, due to the amount of younger populations and generations increasing their usage, there should be a focus on enforcing and regulating the amount of exposure we are experiencing in order to decrease the risk it has on our health, such as the ones I've mentioned before. This issue is one that everyone should be held responsible for, especially parents. In India, there is a study where researchers found a correlation with the parents' relationship with their child's mental health and social media usage. The more a parent was involved in their children's life, the better the mental health and least amount of social media they use. However, the less involved a parent is in their children's life, the more at risk their mental health is, and the more likely they are to turn to social media. Although I can understand that some parents don't want to be too invasive on their children's privacy, it is encouraged for parents to discuss the limitations and boundaries of their social media use with their children, as this helps build a relationship of trust between them. By having this discussion early, it encourages their children to turn to their parent for help when they are having issues, whether it be through poor body image or even cyberbullying. These are a list of helpful tips for managing social media use, whether it's for yourself, for your children, or for others you may think need it. Have one day each week where you take a day away from social media or the internet to recharge and focus on other things. For me personally, a lot of my assignments are due at the end of the week. So on Sundays and sometimes the entire weekend, I like to spend the day doing other things that require me to be offline, such as catching up on reading, cooking, or even journaling. Take a break from apps that contribute to poor body image and instead try apps that are better for your mental health, such as Finch or other self-care apps. Most importantly, set boundaries for yourself. Consider how much time you would like to spend on social media, and ideally, how would you like to spend your time? Are there any alternatives to connect with others outside of internet media? Whether it's to take a break and distress from life's worries, we often turn to social media as it provides an escape from reality. We use it to keep up to date with our favorite celebrities and create parasocial relationships. However, if our usage isn't moderated properly, especially in younger populations, it could lead to negative effects that impact how we interact with one another in real life. This is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. Thank you so much for listening.